Right. So today we're looking at training and the need for training for the Health and Safety Committee to boost the health and safety culture in a company. And all of this would have been, as I mentioned, there would have been a follow-up lesson to the lesson on safety committees, to the lesson on communication, verbal, written, graphic, to the lesson on culture, right? So to the end of it, I'm not too sure if you see how all fit, but you don't really have to see how all fit. I mean, if you were there for all the lessons, you'll see that the way it fits is that if culture was not where it should be, the company can engage the worker via the three forms of communication, verbal, written, and graphic, to sort of try to change their perception and to change the health and safety culture, right? So we did that maybe about 2 weeks ago. Then following to that would have been the idea of communication is best achieved like via a safety committee. So we spoke about the safety committee. And then last week we spoke about the need for consultation with the worker. So all of those kind of still feed back into culture anyway, including this one. So this one training here is the same perspective that if the worker, perception of safety is not where it should be, the worker could be given additional training and that should improve the culture of the company, right? So I'll take it from the top here. It's not very long, like I said, right? So training improves human reliability as it reduces the chance of human failure. Types of training include induction training, job-specific training, including job change training, new technology training, refresher training. If there's an introduction of a new piece of legislation, perhaps maybe, not too sure if we cover that in this course, but if there was something to do like with a technical standard, for example, like noise measurement or vibration or even a certain type of chemical, the workers may have had to be retrained to take those measurements anyway. So the introduction of a new piece of legislation, and it is widely recommended that managers undergo some sort of management training, which the #1 management course worldwide is known as the IOSH Managing Safely course, right? 5.0 is the most popular management training course you have worldwide. And just in case you're with us and you have not heard much about IOSH, I would probably just tell you that they are the end of like your career, not really the end of your career, but they are the end of your education in safety or the end of you being certified, right? I say the end because normally if you have your NEBOSH certificate, some of you all may know, there are different organizations that people could join, right? Normally if you look at, this is putting it basic, if you look at some resumes, sometimes employers like to know, like, what are you a part of then? So like you have persons in Trinidad may go and join the Trinidad and Tobago Red Cross, right? You may have persons joining the Trinidad and Tobago Safety Council. And those are really voluntary organizations then, right? And this is what IOSH is, that in the world of health and safety, they are the biggest health and safety body for professionals worldwide, right? So it is similar to, I guess, if you are, I'm not too sure everybody's background, but if you were like a fireman, there's a professional body that firemen have to join. It's called IFE, right? So anybody can be a fireman, but then if you join IFE, it says something about you now. It says that you are a professional. The same for the world of accounting. If you have, everybody can have an accounting degree, but for accountants, the professional body is called ACCA, and that is what IOSH is to us in the world of safety. Just in case you're confused and you wonder, well, best way to go and do an IOSH course. But the thing is, this is an IOSH course. Just in case you don't know the history, IOSH is the founders of NEBOSH. It happened in 1979. In fact, they were around since 1945. But a long story short, IOSH is the persons that founded NEBOSH in 1979. You can check it up and stuff, and you'll see it. And in fact, back then they didn't even call them NEBOSH, like they actually called them NEB. And NEB was the first name of NEBOSH in 1979. So I said that to tell you, just to kind of bring it back down to like what it really means in, I guess, everyday life, is that if you are studying safety, as some people be studying accounting or IFE, when you finish this course, this National General Certificate, you can go and join IOSH. And what you get to put behind your name, you get to put the letters Tech IOSH, TECHIOSH. It'll be Marcus Charles Tech IOSH. You're entitled to that. Of course, you have to join. Joining is actually on the web if you want to, so we can help you with that. But normally I would advise people to join, like if you're, I guess if you're in it, like if you're in safety, it's kind of like, you know, like you mightn't want to join if you're not working in safety as yet, because you mightn't see the benefit of it. It's kind of like a fireman who maybe reserve, maybe he got into fire, but the person left fire. So then why join IFE? Unless if you just want to put it on your resume. But that's what is entitled to you at the end of the day, that at the end of the third level, you can put Tech IOSH. If you want to do the degree, then at the end of the degree, you put Grad IOSH at the end of your name. So as I said, it's the end of your studies really in safety, that for health and safety professional worldwide, there is no bigger body. They may have other bodies out there, but there's no bigger than IFE, there's no bigger than ACCE, there's no bigger than IOSH in the world of health and safety. Right? So they do have health and safety courses available straight from that entity itself. It's almost like NEBOSH is a sub of them. And one of the training is Managing Safety 5.0, right? We do have that in Trinidad, but there's no such courses planned at the moment, right? I haven't really scheduled any really in the immediate future anyway, right? I know some people may have done that course already, but that's I put it here because management training, such as the Irish manager training course, is really the #1 course for managers worldwide anyway. All right, anyway, a bit of history there into your course, but I'll move on, right? So when is training needed? On recruitment, on induction, a new risk or increase in risk is expected, as that should have been read. Increase in employment of vulnerable employees, for example, young or the disabled worker. A requirement of a new client or insurance company, that's a famous one. You may get a tender, but then the client will want the workers to have been, and I'm talking safety anyway, so I'll just say that they want them to do a confined space, right? Or everybody have to go and do a fire watch or something, right? Or in fact, I mean, that managing safety course is one of those courses that we do go to companies and do, but it's sometimes because of a client. Most of the times a foreign client is what would actually ask the companies here that they actually do that course anyway, right? So if there's a job change or a process change, you need to kind of up your game then in terms of when is training needed. All right, when is training needed? The introduction of new legislation, I think I said that already. Introduction of new technology was on this slide already. Recommendation from an auditor, that's a good one. An auditor, that's a really good one, like especially when the auditors come to a company. For the safety, if the person would have done the NEBOSH level 3, they may recommend go and do the level 6. Perhaps if they have done the level 6, they may recommend something else, right? So to keep up to date with a national or global best practice, such as IOSH Managing Safely course or the process safety management course that are now the industry norms in the world of safety. Typical content of an HSC induction training. So in case you just join us and you want to know what all this lesson is about, is actually really simple, like what type of training, you know, a person would have to go through. More so, when would training be needed is actually a straightforward NEBOSH question. And then this one that we on now has come for exam before, right? So I have there what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, normally for 8 marks, but you know, I guess we'll talk about the change or the change in NEBOSH format in a couple of minutes, because this lesson, this is the last slide of this lesson already, right? So this is a simple one. This is this question has come, I would say before, because it's before 2020 now, where they ask like, what would you want to discuss they probably say you are an HSE advisor in a company, and what would you want to discuss? In the orientation, we sometimes say orientation in Trinidad, they say induction training there for new workers in a company, right? So I have a start here left of two. I don't know if anybody could think about it. I mean, that is something that the safety users have to do. Like when a new employee comes in, or group of employees, you have to go and do the orientation with them. So what do you discuss? I would want to say you discuss the company's policy, its stated goals, etc. So you'd say we here at Atlantic LNG, we have a goal, we have a mantra, we have a saying, we have a philosophy, whatever word you want to use, that says that no one will do the job unsafe there. And I think we had said that thing before, which is their tagline, which is we do the job safely or not at all, right? So you kind of make that your vision statement then in the orientation, right? Some things you want to cover in the orientation. What are the arrangements for communication and consultation? You let the employees know, well, if something happens, who do they have to report to? I mean, do they have to come to a supervisor? Like, what is their reporting line? Or if it's an HSE matter, would they come to you directly, right? You need to tell them the HSE advisor, manager on site, and the reporting lines. You need to let the employees know the accident reporting procedure. Simply put, like where to go and get a form. Is it on the intranet? Do they have to go to HR if they want to report and get a form from them, or would they come to the HSE office? The HSE manager normally has an office to get a form. What is the fire and emergency procedures? You need to tell them, and I have done this, so that's what I'm telling you, it's a lot of common sense stuff, right? You need to walk them through in addition to telling them and show them where the muster points are, what is their route out of the building. There may be more than one route. If there were probably 3 to 4 exits, and in big companies, way much more exits than that. What is the location of any welfare arrangement? Where is the tea room? Where is the, maybe the sick bay if the company has that? What arrangements are in place for the cafeteria? What time is the cafe open? All of those things. So anybody can tell me if they could think of maybe 2 more things. It is normally just about 8 marks anyway. If you had to orient employees, what would be some things you want to tell? What would be some things you want to tell them anyway? In the very first day, which is like when you stand before them, I'll try to squeeze them in here. If you're not giving me, I'll give you them anyway. But what do you think you want to discuss with them? Again, I could have 100 different answers for this, but this is just the orientation meeting. So what else should we tell them? We would have told them the company's policy. We tell them who to report to, how to report accident. We tell them already where's the muster point. We probably would have walked them through to show them the route and where the toilets and the cafeteria, you walk them through all of that. Anything else you think we want to tell them? We need to make 8 anyway. Anybody? It's some really simple things anyway. Going once, going twice. I'll give you a hint, right? It's a very simple one. I really don't want to sell out others. I'll give you a hint, but it's so simple. Don't know how to give you a hint for it. What about things like what don't you want them to do on the site?
No smoking.
Smoking, very good. So that was a hint. I didn't want to, I tried to figure out how to say that, not say no smoking, right? So like what are the smoking policy? And this is, I mean, it doesn't have to be no smoking. It could be that smoking, I mean, I have worked at companies where smoking was allowed. It's just that, you had to go by the gate or the designated smoking place. Massey actually had designated smoking places that you could have gone. They didn't, at least when I was there, I mean, this was probably 10 years ago, I mean, 2020 now, but it probably may have changed in then to now, but I mean, at that point in time, it actually had places you could have gone, and it had, like ashtrays and whatever have you could have smoked there, right? So the whole idea there is like what you don't want. So you want no smoking. So all of the illegal, I won't say illegal, but all of the controlled substances that I say illegal now, right? Because, alcohol is not illegal, but again, you don't want it on the job site. Marijuana to a certain extent now, You don't really want it on the job site, right? So all of those things now, all of the controlled substances, you don't really want it on the job site. Anybody else? So put it as
No,
low smoking. Say?
no cell phones.
Okay, very good, right? So things like electronic, I mean, this is a good one for Atlantic LNG. They don't allow it at all. In fact, a lot of companies that are in the gas business anyway, no electronics, right? I think you are allowed it lunchtime. You are allowed again, I have done this as well. I've actually been in one of these companies as well, right? So no electronics. You kind of have to wait for lunch and to make that phone call that you want to make, or at least use. In fact, nothing was wrong. Nothing was wrong with using the company's phone. Then you could have used the company's, ask the company, to use their phone to make a call anyway, right? So I'll just give you one more, which is one of the most simplest ones. I think you know it. What are some things to discuss in an orientation meeting? A really simple one. Too simple, in fact, as I didn't put it, would have been PPE, right? So, right, PPE, so like if they are required to come in to the compound in full PPE, there are some companies like that, you dare not, but I mean, I guess you could dare, but the thing is you wouldn't be able to come in, right? That if you are out of full PPE, the security would not let you in anyway. And I mean, some companies, I think some companies do it really well, and I think some companies overdo it because in the past, I have been sent home. I was actually sent home for not having a safety glasses back in the early days, in fact, right? How much years that was anyway, for not having a safety glasses. But and the point is, this was not a gas company. This was just a service-driven company. But that was the rules anyway, that if you didn't have your full PPE to come in, I know a company that's similar to that. The company talking about kind of closed down, and our company closed down now anyway, but a company similar to that is lease operators. And lease operators, you dare not, right? You dare not actually even come to the security guard to come into the compound and without full PPE. I know the plants as well, like Nutrient, which would have been called PCS Nitrogen. Those companies are like that anyway, right? So again, you let the employee know maybe the first day, this could have been the first day that they were hired. So they came, they would have been interviewed then, right? And then from the interview, maybe they were successful and they were told to come to you to do an orientation, but they are not in full PPE. This is their very first day. The company may still have to issue PPE to them. Again, that's part of your job. If you were the one doing the orientation, you have to go with the person. If there is a store's room, right? You have to go with them and get them their boots and get the best fit and get the glasses and the coverall and stuff. That's actually the job of the safety advisors. If you are new to safety, these are some things you have to do with new employees as well, right? So that's a good one there. You see, Untitled NEBOSH is not really rocket science hard. It's not that tough anyway. But nonetheless, that is it for element 3. Like I said, if you just join us, we have had some other things on this slide, but we would have covered those things already. If it is the truth, you'll actually see that, right? And what we haven't covered is really not on the syllabus. Somebody's gonna write these things and put additional things on it anyway. But all of this we did, what would have been the individual factors to determine culture, height, strength, age, everything was on these slides here. All you had to do was to read it anyway. So what on these slides here, I told you these are just me putting examples about perception. The whole moral about this slide was that I'll probably ask anybody to read it with the exception of Risa, because I don't know, I guess the repeaters may have seen it already. Anybody could read this slide for me? Who haven't seen this as yet? What does it say?
A bird in the bush.
Right, okay. Okay, well, you read it, you're correct, right? Well, most people at first glance, they just see a bird in the bush. But yes, you read it correct, because it is a bird in the bush, right? So this was not really about safety. This is just about, some people may have just seen a bird in the bush, And the whole thing is that they fully believe that is true, but it's just a trick in perception. And the little moral of the story is that, like sometimes a worker might not fully believe that safety rules are important, right? And that, they need to have on their hard hat, or they need to have this. But this is the whole lesson. This is the whole thing about culture, that you can show them a video, you can talk to them verbal, written, graphic. You can present information to them that will then change their perception to what they thought they knew before, right? But you read it correct anyway. And the rest is the same. I guess if I get some time, I know I've seen this one on, I guess on Facebook. I've seen people trying to read this. I've had this here years now, more than, I've had this here before 2009 on this slide, right? But I've seen people putting this up on, I don't know if it's the same thing. It's just a matter of perception. You could try to read it in your free time. You would discover that you could read it fluently. In fact, you could read it without a fault, right? The human mind works in that way anyway, right? So if you want, who knows, put it up on Facebook, see if anybody could read it and stuff like that, right? This has been here, I think, way even before. And not just Facebook was invented in 2009. I kind of find that hard because I can't remember using it in 2009. So I don't think Facebook was developed in 2009 as yet, right? So nonetheless, though, that is it for lesson 3. I had mentioned to you all, I wanted to take a look at the way the exams are being formatted now, right? And at least for us to think about it, right? It's just about 1 o'clock, so it'll take us a good half an hour. So I have 10 persons, I think, well, probably 8, because if I check myself, let's see how much persons we have. So 8 persons today, right? Because I know Janet and I would be there as well. So just to say a lot of things and to say it direct anyway, is that as you know, NEBOSH would have gone forward, I guess, proactively, and they developed something called an open book exam for the state of the world that we are in today, right? I had mentioned what it could be like, and it turned out to be just the same, which was a case study, and you have to use some critical thinking in the case study. To say a lot of stuff fast, the exam is done in for a whole day, which you don't need a whole day. All you really need is a good 5 hours, right? But you can take whole day. It's done online. You have to log into a platform. It's very simple. They will send you a password. You log into a platform, you download the paper, and there's a template, so you can type on it for the whole day. I mean, I don't ever think people would take a whole day to get it done, right? To me, a good 5-6 hours, is good enough to get it done. You upload it. And from there, there is a closing interview that I have to do with the students that close up the exercise anyway, right? Nonetheless, though, the exam paper have 10 questions in it. The sample paper we're going to look at now has 5, but at least will tell you what the paper coming like. And you have to get 45 marks to pass the exam, right? So as I'm looking for it now, what I'll tell you, remember to pass the exam, you have to pass the project, which next week, as we are finished today with chapter 3, or more or less finished anyway, or I'm going to say chapter 3 is already elementary. Next week, you'll be starting element 4 on your syllabus, which is the one with risk assessments. Now, you'll have to give me one session, which will be next week, Saturday, to do some work in it. And once we do some work in it, for those of us who don't know what a risk assessment is, we'll be able to start the project.
Turn back on your mic. Mike. Hello.
Right, you all hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I wonder, so when did it trail off from? I'm not sure. I'm not even sure how that happened because I have minimized that window. Anyway, yeah, I was saying the project is not affected by any COVID-19 measures worldwide in England, in the US, and Trinidad. And the open book exam too is not affected by any COVID-19 measures because you simply do this exam at home. And I think I mentioned to you last week, having looked at it, I felt it was doable, probably more doable than the written exam because you didn't have to do a whole set of cramming because your book would have been right on your table, or your books, in fact, your notes would have been right on your table, and all you have to do is just read a passage. It's like doing a comprehension, read a passage, and you could use your book. It is the whole day. There were 10 questions on it, so I kind of told my students they could spend a whole hour on one question. An hour is plenty because it is really a 10-minute question. They also have a word limit. There was also a word limit, and the word limit is 3,000 words, meaning that they didn't want you to overwrite a whole bunch of stuff. They just wanted to answer the question, right? So what I want you to do, in the back of your mind, so that we are finished off early today, is to consider this as a means of exam, right? You do see also that the viral load in Trinidad is also increasing. Every day last week, Saturday, just before class, I think one of my students told me, and then by the evening, exactly what he said happened. And then today, that same student said that there were 4 new cases again. So you'll see what's happening, I guess, by the news tonight anyway. Nonetheless, right, let's put this, as I would say, in the back of your mind, and I want to show you how doable it is, right? So it's a lot to read. So what I'll try to do, I guess I'll try to kind of pick it a bit, right? So I can try to pick here. So the examination will take you approximately 4 hours to complete. But remember, you have all day, nobody already checking that, right? So you can take 5 hours, 10 hours, 15 hours. You have to submit it within 24 hours though, right? This includes reading, researching, and completing the task. You are not expected to write more than 3,000 words in total, meaning that you just can't go and download text then from the internet. By the way, that doesn't work for comprehension. Anyway, you have to answer the comprehension. Try to distribute your time and word count proportionally across all tasks. Now that's simple. How that is simple, just in case you're not joining us and you haven't heard these things before. You normally write how much points you see. If you see 5 points, sorry, 5 marks, that's 5 points that they were looking for, right? If you see 10 marks, that's 10 points that they're looking for. How long is a point? A point could literally be about 2 sentences long, 3 sentences. It depends on you, I mean, but it should be more than a sentence, right? It can't be 1 point, and it can't be a whole page, right? So point form is advised. If they ask you, and you'll see it in a bit, if they ask you maybe for 5 something, that would have been 5, points. Each point could be 2 to 3 sentences long, and 3 is actually pushing it. But I guess because it's an open book exam, you can probably pull things from your book and make reference to and stuff. But normally, 2 to 3 sentences is okay, right? It's recommended that you use the available answer template. That's something you have to download. It's really simple. I mean, we had the first one this Thursday here. When they give you the login, your name will come up, and there's just one tab to click, which is the exam tab. And once you open that, you have your question paper, and then you have the blank template for you to type on. Right? You would receive further instructions on how to submit your assessment. And when we get to that, there is actually like a little guide on that, step by step, like what to do, step 1, step 2, step 3. All of those things would be, exactly on the website anyway, but I guess you could email those things in time, right? So let me I may have to minimize this here to kind of get some way to control this, right? So this is the case study here. We want to take a read of it, and I guess we would try a question in it as well, right? So what I had advised though, I'd advise my students, the ones who wrote the exam on Thursday, that on Thursday then, which would have been Tuesday here, that when they open the paper, just like I opened this here, to print it, right? Now, of course, I mean, we do have printers at home now, but maybe that could be, if we have decided to do the open book exam based on any ministry restrictions, right? that to print it, the reason for printing it is that when you print it now, you can highlight it, you know, and link this here to this here, right? It is kind of tedious to scroll up and scroll down and scroll up and scroll down. So not all of them had a printer next to them on Tuesday there, right? Nonetheless, I'm going to read and, you know, we'll talk about, I just want us to look at one question anyway and see the same thing I did there. I kind of click that button a bit too fast there, right? So just to avoid that, I think on the day of the exam, would have been a good idea, would have been just to print it and then, you know, you could highlight it and mark it up and stuff. That's what people do normally when they're doing an analysis anyway. Anyway, let me start, right? They say, you are a newly appointed health and safety advisor for a construction company. Right now, one of the reasons for me kind of doing this is because, one, of course, I wanted to see it and think about it. One of the real reasons is that this thing was actually based on what we just did. This thing was actually based on elementary. Nothing on this is based on a risk assessment, and nothing was based on chapter 1 either. This whole thing was based on elementary, right? All right, so you are newly appointed health and safety advisor for a construction company. You work in the head office, which is a 2-story office building, along with 20 other office-based workers who administer construction contracts. One of these workers has impaired hearing. So you need to know you're working with, you know, one worker that is differently abled. An office-based contract manager who coordinates construction work, contracts and activities. So in addition to the 20, he's another one, he's 21. And then you have 20 mobile construction workers, including an operation manager who occasionally visits the office in their vehicles. So the office really is you, these 20 office-based admin workers, kind of admin workers. One of them hearing impaired is an office-based manager, right? There as well. And then you have like a mobile now. You have these are the men and them who go really go out and do the construction. Well, they don't really be there, but they will visit in addition to their operation manager. I suppose they may visit for salaries and, you know, whatever have you that they may have to pick up at the office, right? So the opening hours of the office are flexible depending on the need of the work or the needs of the work. The contract manager, which is the one in your building, right, has a reputation of being irritable and unapproachable. It's only seen as occasionally abusive if interrupted. Remember, this one was in your building, but you're seeing them, meaning the person sitting down in the office whole day anyway. They only see when arriving and leaving, right? The person that coming out of the office anyway. The office building is in a business park away from main traffic routes. That have other businesses renting from it, right? The office has on-site car park, but space is limited, which I guess would be normal. When all of the allocated spaces are taken, some vehicles are parked across and making no one has a car. Again, remember you are a newly appointed. Yeah, correct, yeah. So not
All of them went up on the site and I saw that question.
So
it came back.
this is not the question paper.
Oh, okay.
Right, I was told not to share the question paper with you all from NEBOSH. This is the sample paper.
Oh.
Right? Yeah, we were told now we would share it, but they normally will give us a time. What happened? I mentioned the students have a closing interview still to do. Right? So I think when NEBOSH, when they say we can share it, we would share it. Right? As of now, by the way, I have not seen it. Right? Just to let you know, right? I have not seen the paper. And I mean, normally I'm basing this on past exam. Normally they put out like an examiner's report. I would expect the same. So whenever they put out their examiner's report, I would see it and you will see it as well, right? But this is the sample anyway.
My name is Sadian.
Yeah, all right, okay. So I'm just trying to break it down for you all as much as I could. And I'm just trying to prove to you how simple it was, right? So no one has assessed the risk in the car park, right? Recently, plus remember you have whole day. Is my camera still on? You all hear me still?
Yeah.
No, I just realized I was kind of stuck there. Okay, and I think everybody was stuck at the same time. So on the internet, the municipality is when a distracted construction worker, which you can expect. I did mention that these people may have visited anyway, right? Construction workers walking. As a result, there was there was an angry exchange between the two of them. They decided to talk previous allocated spaces into other vehicles. The vehicles narrowly missing pedestrians. The workers said that they would not report these because they were afraid of being blamed. They also knew that it was a health and safety advisor. You would like to improve health and safety because you take your responsibility seriously and want to make the workplace safer for everyone. You discussed the near miss and subsequent exchange with the two workers and operations manager. You asked for their opinion. The worker who was almost struck by the reversing car suggested that it would be safer if everyone reverses. Was less helpful who was in the building who decided would have been a bit abusive and rude, right? And said that there was nothing to worry about and that this has been happening for years, but no one had ever been also said it was best for people to sort it out for themselves. I remember the laws and stuff we did on incident again, no one had reported that these lights would not. We could get the rest of it now. You have decided to review the contract manager that is only available to two. Those things are only it's the duty of the employer to bring it in section 2 subsection 3. Utility contract by the company's breaking health and safety law. Due to the serious and the health and safety policy issues, you insist a health and safety committee meeting should be held as soon as possible. You have, I'm not sure to get the last piece. Right. Okay, right in a second. Quite a bit. So you have asked the contract manager to the bottom of the page, right? And the operation manager to attend. Both managers agree as the last health and safety committee meeting was over a year ago, right? So the questions are there. However, I don't want us to look at all the questions anyway, given the fact that 15 minutes went in the reading alone. But just to, I mean, when I mean look at them, I don't want you to do them. I mean, today's the first day anyway of looking at past papers like this. But when you look at them, I want you to say that the questions are not hard. I'll just read question 1, but I don't want us to look at it. I just have, I mean, I want to do one that's based on today's work anyway, right? So you have been asked to chair the health and safety committee meetings, which would be the safety work anyway. Before the meeting, you decide you will open the meeting by reminding everyone of moral expectations of health and safety. Right? Moral expectations of health and safety. Prepare notes of the moral argument you would use at the meeting. Note, you should support your answer where applicable using relevant information from the scenario. And that's what I said, a good idea is to kind of print it so you can just turn the page. I think there's just 2 pages and instead of going up and going back down. It's 10 marks, so as we on this, I could mention, I'm not going to look at that question anyway, but I could look at the structure of it, that it's 10 marks, ideally what you want. Let me see if I can just grab my marker, but I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to do that one anyway. But ideally what you want is that you want 10 separate points then. So if you put a dash and then you come up with what is a moral reason then. They say you need to decide you decide that you will open the meeting by reminding everyone of their moral expectation, right? So here, because this is if you want, you can look at this for homework, right? But I'm not going to do it because of the time anyway, right? But here is where, because it's an open book exam now, you open the book into chapter 1, you know, moral, legal, and financial was chapter 1. And you just pick one of the points that you see in your book. I mean, a moral reason for let me see what they want this for, right? So you're going to remind the workers of their moral expectation to health and safety, right? And so you take a point what I'm saying, because it's 10 marks, that point then should be like in a nice little, already supposed to be a straight line, eh? A nice 2 lines, a nice 3 lines now, right? And then that would have just been 1 point. Now, again, you could put more than 3 lines because it's an open book. You may want to quote a line from the book and say, that was some Ed Ferret and stuff, which is the authors of the book. And then you go on to number, you really need 10 points like that, right? And you could space them out like that for those of us who don't know how to answer a question, right? And then this would be number 3. And then this wouldn't take you an hour to do, but because it's a whole day exam, you could literally take a whole hour to research this one question, go up on the net, pull on what are the moral reasons of managing health and safety. And what you will do, I really didn't want to give you any answers here, but what I'm saying is that some of your lines, you'll have to tie it back here. You use a relevant example, right? You use a relevant example. So then that would actually add to your lines. You may end up with, 4 or 5 lines, and then you do that, but you have to do 10 of that to get the 10 points.
Do you have to do referencing?
Yes, if you took something, let's say you did go to the internet and you put, you just put in on Google, what are the moral reasons for managing health and safety, and you got a document from the HSE, like a HSE guidance now. You have to say, like according to the HSE report, and you could probably put the name on it. If you know referencing, Marcus, you seem as if you know referencing, haven't answered question.
Yeah.
I know some people know to reference. This is like how you reference it. You put the name of the thing. If it's the HSE and you put the year in brackets, you say according to the HSE, that looks like a 9 or 8. I already wanted to make a 9. So you say it's according to the HSE 2019, workers are entitled to basic, like basic human rights, and one of them is that to be safe on the job. So you found that then you go back in the paragraph in the time where it was said that that what was when I don't want to go up and down with this one, but you could try to remember something from it anyway. Like where it was said that the car park was filled and then they had to park across park cars. So when you pull that together, you notice you make up a very good little paragraph, nothing too big, because you go across the overall word limit. Like I said, these things are meant to be, to me, 3 lines, and then this 2 lines that probably just be something you pull from the scenario. My thing with this is that this would never take you an hour to do, but you have an hour to do it. You have 24 hours to do it. You can more than take an hour with a question. You can take 2 hours of the question if you want, but the thing is you have to submit at the end of the following. If you started off, this became available to them 4 o'clock in the morning. That was on Thursday the 6th, 4 a.m. The reason for 4 a.m. is because the UK is about 4 hours ahead of us this time of the year, British summertime, BST. So 4 a.m. in Trinidad would have been, I think, about 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock across there. Yeah, no, actually 9 o'clock in Trinidad. There's actually 9 o'clock in Trinidad, 45, 56, 67, no, but 8 o'clock, right? So, but, and some of my students were up. I told them they didn't have to be up 4 o'clock because they literally had a whole day. I didn't see the need to get up 4 o'clock in the morning. But I know one of them said that he was anxious. He wanted to get up 4 o'clock in the morning and he started it. I felt you could have started it. You could have gotten up, had your breakfast, take a break, say your prayers, start 9 o'clock. You'd have finished more than 9 o'clock in the evening. And by that time you click upload and you submit it anyway. Right? So you understand, it's not, to me, it's not rocket science. That was not the one I wanted to show you. I didn't want to give you any answers there. But the point I was trying to say is that 10 marks, 10 points. This is about an average length if you want. I mean, when I say length, I mean, I have drawn it small. I mean, there's be whole lines in the template anyway that you write out. You could overdo it, but don't overdo it because you may have to come back and cut down your word count anyway. Once you say what the duty is, like what the moral obligation is, and you tie it into a scenario, that's what they're looking for. And finally move on to our next point anyway, right? When we get to this, I mean, if you'll do it for homework, fine. If not, I'll show you how to get all of the points. I did show the class. I did tell them to, well, I can't believe it's 1:22 already. What I told the class, right, is that the trick is not doing the open book exam, and the trick is figuring out where the answer is coming from. If you could figure out like what part in the book have this, you could just go to the book and then write a sentence or 2 on it. You understand? Or research it on the net. So the trick was where to get this thing called moral obligation from. I kind of frightened to ask you all, because you had to be studying to answer that. Anybody know where you're getting moral obligations from?
Act of 1979.
Okay, right. Okay, you kind of did. Now, the thing about moral obligations, I'll give you a hint if you're doing it for homework. The thing about moral obligation is that, in a way, Marcus, you're correct. And I'll clear that up next week if you want, because I don't want to sell it all. But the thing about moral obligation, you cannot mention the law. If you mention the law, it now becomes a legal obligation. So it have a trick somewhere in your book in chapter 1. You understand that? The minute you say the law, it doesn't become a moral obligation anymore. Moral mean it was the right thing to do. So that's what I said, human right. It was like, you know, like every worker then, that's why you can start this meeting by saying every worker, when they go to work, if you look at my first PowerPoint that we have it on it, that when you go to work then, you didn't sign a contract then to suffer, right? You didn't sign a contract, you know, to go through hardship. You sign a contract to exchange your time for a salary, right? So you are entitled then to your human right, which is the right to be paid and the right to be safe on the job. Now, in saying that, I did not mention the law, but it's a human expectation, or it's a moral expectation to be safe on your job without mentioning the law. So the trick was that same thing Marcus thinking about it. The trick was the same thing for my students when I did this for them. But the good news is that they saw it the week before exam. I mean, NEBOSH did put out the sample the week before. You all be seeing it months before, you know, the actual open book. If the way things continue, it may be that may be the way to go. I still feel though that it was easier to get 45 marks for this than to remember a lot of work and not know where your answers coming from. Here, the good thing about this, I could talk about this whole day. The good thing about this, you know where your answers is coming from. The answers is coming from, well, at the 3 places. The first place your answer coming from is the passage. So you don't have to know where your answers is coming from the passage, right? The other thing, the answer coming from your book, which was open in front of you. And the third thing, the answers are going to come from your head, which is how you think about it and how you analyze it. It's a little bit a different approach to doing exams though, but I think it was a nice way, because in this way though, I can easily see somebody getting, let's say you get 5 out of this theory. Remember, you make 45 to pass. At least that's the old scheme, right? You can't kill me for that. NEBOSH, in their guidances, they have been vague. They have not really published a pass mark. But all they said is that the pass mark will stay the same as the old exam, in which it is 45. But the actual number 45, up to the students writing exam on Thursday, that number was not physically published on the guidance. All it said is that the pass mark is going to stay the same. Up to now, me I get to the question I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you the question. It was number 4. That's the one I wanted us to look at. Maybe we could probably start it then, right? And maybe finish it for homework, right? So question 4, right? And even question 5. If you look at this whole thing, was actually based on chapter 3 or elementary. I keep saying chapter 3 because of the green book, but it is really elementary in the syllabus, right? Those of us with the other book, it may not be chapter 3. So task 4, the Health and Safety Committee now looks at consultation within the company. Right? I read it again. The Health and Safety Committee, we talked about it last week. They now want to start to consult within the company. Here the question. What formal meetings could you plan that are likely to help improve consultation in the workplace? You should support your answers where applicable using relevant information from the scenario. Again, I said, there's only 3 places the information coming from. Number 1, the passage. Number 2, the textbook. Number 3, ahead. No need to cram, right? So you can't say, you can just go back to the passage and see, you know, like where they had, if you remember me within the passage, there were certain places, the workers said that there were no meetings held with them, right? So this is a simple question, right? What formal meetings could you plan? That was it. All they're looking for, sorry to sell this one out, but they wanted 5 meetings, right? They wanted 5 meetings that you could plan to improve consultation. It was 5 because we see 5 marks. You just have to say what the meeting is and then kind of go back to the passage and say why you would have wanted that meeting. Anybody, and if you want, let me give you a start because it's 1:27. You see how I like to, you know, when I have these classes in school, it's actually 2 hours, 3 hours, and still I find the time to be short. Anyway, let me give you a start. I'll leave the easiest one for you. We might be able to finish it. So one of the meetings I'll want to have is a formal, like, management meeting, like a director's meeting. You understand? Because remember, the fellas given the trouble, right, is the contract manager and the operation manager, right? If you look through the passage, remember, you'll see where they said that one of them, you're seeing them, you only see when he come and when he leaving, right? That's happened in some companies. You see when they come and you see when they leave. And the other one, I think, was the operation manager said that it had a policy, but that wasn't meant for the workers, that's only meant for clients, and it's best the workers sort out things for themselves. So one of the first things I want to do is talk to the managers and them. So I would want to call it a senior management meeting. Anybody could give, and then I would, just like how I do, you see what I did? I would go back to the scenario and I'll pull out the lines and say, pull out the lines where the operation manager said that they have a policy, but it's really meant for the client, so it's best the workers sort it out for themselves. I'll pull those lines back, and those are the things that I'm going to use to support my under anyway. And again, that's really probably not correct because I haven't scrolled up, and I don't want to scroll up because it'll take me too long anyway. But as the idea that you pull the lines and you make the thing there. Anybody could give me just one more. It have 5. Where's one more meeting you think will be one of the easiest meetings that you want to have for the workers? The workers said that they were afraid of being blamed. So where's one of the meetings you want to have with the workers and them? It's the simplest meeting we have in the workplace. Starts with a T.
Toolbox.
Yeah, he wanted to do a toolbox meeting, right? So I tell you, I mean, but I would have put that for number 5. It's only because of the time I tell you to just think about one. So I want to do a toolbox meeting with them, you know, and let them know that, you know, like going forward, you know, we want to kind of talk to them about the culture change and stuff in the company, and they could pull the lines there when they said that they didn't report it because they were afraid of being blamed and whatever have you. You understand? And if you put your mind to this, and that's the thing about this, you didn't have to put your mind to it. You had to put the internet to it. You had to put Google to it, right? So if you could try any one of these, number 4 or number 1, I don't know if you have the past paper. I guess.
Talk on investigating or something.
Yeah, you want to have
accident reports.
Yeah, but this is meeting, because what formal meetings? So this is a meeting you want to plan. Like what meetings you want to plan, but you wanted 5 meetings. So I can give you all now, but I don't want to, right? I don't want to as yet. If you can, I don't know if you see when I finish this thing, it takes about an hour to convert. I would try to upload it today, tomorrow. So in case you see it and you do have the question, because I was looking in the NEBOSH website for it, but I wasn't seeing it on the website, right? I don't know if you have pen and paper nearby. I know some of you come by with pen and paper. You could have jotted down a bit. But then again, you do have the whole case study, right? So as soon as I finish, I'll put it to convert. And when it finished converting, I'll try to upload this one. If it's any upload on the YouTube channel today, it will be this one. I wouldn't be uploading the diploma work or the other certificate class work. I'll be uploading this one. And give it a try. Remember, this has 5 marks. So you don't want to overdo this now. I mean, if I could grab back my mark again, this would have been 5 points. This would, to me, this would have not been even half page long. What are the meeting? A manager's meeting. I don't want to sell out the rest, right? You could actually just go and research it on Google. What are 5 formal managers meeting? By the way, your book have it. I think one of my slides have it too as well. Your book will have it. If you just look at, you know, like different, this is chapter 3. You look through chapter 3 and you'll see it, right? So sorry, the marker not come in there. Still a comment, right? We have given the first one, I think, like a directors/senior managers meeting, and we have given the last one, which I think would be the marker. Okay, right? So 1, 2, 3, and the last one. But again, these are same. They should have been like about 3 lines long because it have said what the toolbox meeting is all about. You want to have a toolbox meeting with your workers, and this could help to change their perception and get their views and, you know, break down to them what is the accident reporting procedure. And then you pull some lines on the passages. So maybe I would want to say 5 lines at the most. and that will work for all of them anyway, and then that will be a really good way for this, right? So this is a new way to do an exam. Like I said, I think NEBOSH is pretty much proactive with it. And I think it's worth giving it a shot, right? The alternative is much harder. Take it from me, the alternative. I know we have Risa and those who did exams before. The alternative is harder than this. This, you know where the answer's coming from, your book. You know where the answer's coming from, the internet. You know where it's coming from. If I could show you, but I'm out of time. One of these questions here, all the answers was in the passage, all of them, right? So I don't know if I scroll up back there, or if you could catch it, but it wasn't number 5 and it wasn't number 1, but one of the questions, all the answers was in the passage, right? I want to show the students and them that they didn't see it. And that's the thing that alarmed me though. But then again, they were like the guinea pigs. They were the first batch to see what these papers look like. But we did have a bit of guidance before. And I tried to show them how to break it down then, but they didn't, like one of the issues they had was where the answers coming from. So you literally had to tell them it's called open book for a reason, because you could use your book. You could use your book to go and find 5 types of formal meetings and just tie it back and apply it into the question, right? So keep this at the back of your mind. I think it is a good way forward. But they
So send us the a PDF or something with it, so you don't have it.
I could, but remember you gotta wait for this. I think this is on the NEBOSH site now. However, I was not able to get it. I sat by the computer just about 2 minutes before the class started, and I went up on the site. If you want, again, I could take a note.
Download it off the site.
Yeah, I think you could. I think you could. Just I was just hurrying trying to find it, and I couldn't find it. So I ended up starting the Zoom session now, right? So when I say I couldn't find it, it wasn't like if I was not looking for it long. I was actually just sitting in front of the computer just about 2 minutes before the Zoom class started, and I couldn't get it. But I think you could download it. That would be Darian, right? I think you could download it, and you could have a go at it. And remember, the book is there. I mean, it's called OBE for a reason, open book exam anyway. And if you have some answers, you could shoot me the answer with this. If not, next week, even if we start in risk assessment, I want to come back to this one, number 4, to see if you got the other 2 types of formal. I could literally give it that from the top of my head anyway. And those of us who working could probably do the same thing too. And if you had a chance to look at number 1, the thing what I wanted number 1, if you could have figured out what I was trying to discuss at Marcus, they're like where the answer's coming from, you know, not what it is. Because if you can figure out where it's coming from, like where would you have gotten those moral arguments from? Like what part of your book, what part of the work have that in it? Because once you can figure that out, you can take the points and then, you know, make it critically evaluated, of course, and then make it relevant to the scenario here, right? I will stop the recording because the longer it goes, the longer it takes to convert. I'll stop that.